My name's Connor Ward. I speak for a job occasionally. There's a weird picture of me speaking. I'm also a part-time student at the Open University. I could do a whole talk on why that's so great for people on the autistic spectrum, but I haven't got time for that. I do a lot of voluntary work for the National Autistic Society. There's me, and that was a campaign for Volunteers Week this year. And then I'm also a vlogger, which is the main reason why I am talking to you today. I will be explaining a bit more about that, but I thought one of the nicest ways to get a bit of an intro would be to show you some of my work. And this is one of my favourite videos that I've ever made. I was very lucky enough earlier in the year to be invited by Disney to go and make a video with them about their show Aladdin. They were doing a relaxed performance, and as I'd enjoyed it so much the year before and done a review of it, they were like, do you want to come down and interview the cast and stuff? To which I lost my mind, I'm not even going to lie. So here's a shortened version of that video. I still can't believe that happened. It was such a magical day. What was really annoying is when I first trialled this talk, I did it at the Autism show earlier on in the year, and we were coming up to a relaxed performance, so I was obviously saying at the end of that bit, oh, go and see the relaxed performance. Now the show's actually closing, it's closing next year, so please everyone just go and see it, just because I love it so much. But yeah, as you can see, I make videos on social media. I like to mainly educate about autism because I got diagnosed a few years ago. I was 18. I'd kind of known my entire life though, so it wasn't really a surprise for me. But as soon as I got diagnosed, I realized, why was I diagnosed at age 18? I know it is late, but I know it's not late for some people. I think that going forward though, can I make a difference with this? I really want to try and do something, and YouTube was the natural step for me. Me doing YouTube, though, means I've encountered quite a lot of interesting situations, let's say. And just generally, being a teenager of the 21st century, I've grown up on social media, I've come across all these situations, which, being on the autistic spectrum, have been that much more difficult. So hopefully today I can. Well, it's social media. We all use social media. Well, a lot of us, apart from the people walking upstairs going, oh, I can't stand social media. That's going to be in my head now for the rest of the day, isn't it? Right. But these people, the world needs educating. So hopefully we can all learn something to keep ourselves safer online, because we all do things that are perhaps not the safest. So, first little anecdote was back in March 2015. I was 16, 17 years old. I've got to get that exactly right, that's really going to annoy me. I was 17. And I used to do app development when I was a teenager because I just got into it. I was naturally a geeky kid, and I got into coding and I kept coding and came across apps and was like, I'm going to do them. And I started working on this one app and I became so obsessed with it. As people on the spectrum tend to do, we tend to get quite obsessed with things. And then kids are mean, basically. Teenagers are mean. If someone shows a passion in something, for some reason the world says, let's laugh at them, which hopefully is an attitude that changes, and it does as you grow up. But in the teenage world, people wanted to have a go at me for making apps, and I kept getting loads of online abuse. That's my representation of abuse. I couldn't really think, how can I do that without putting a load of swear words on the screen? So use that as your visualization. And that situation, I got flooded. Basically, one night, a group of guys in my year decided to. I'd actually left sixth form at this point, so I wasn't even going to school with them. It was none of their business. They were just bored and thought, let's just wind up Connor. And I got flooded with tweets and stuff from these people going, when's the app coming out? Because that was like a thing, because I had to keep delaying it, because it was an app. And all these people were coming at me. And it was so overwhelming. I couldn't really understand what to do about having all these people come at me. And do you know what? I think it's fair to say that being on the autistic spectrum just makes you generally a bit more of a target for bullying. So when the online world is there, people are a bit more cowardly, and they think they can do it behind this little mask that they've got. So I had all these people, which were actually stupid, weren't they? If they went to my school, what did my mum do as soon as I told her about it? She rang up my old school, they went and told them off. So it was like, they were stupid, but they learned their lesson. But the point is there, it wasn't a situation I could deal with by myself. And I realized that was a thing. The more I interacted on social media, the more times I was coming across situations like that. And that's where I realized I need extra help with all these things. Like, I needed help communicating in the day-to-day world anyway, but online, I also needed that help. So anytime there was anything a bit uncomfortable, I would go straight to my mum, which sounds completely obvious, but sometimes we can feel that social media is our social media, so that's all our problems. So to make sure, if you're related to someone on the autistic spectrum, just make sure they're fully aware that you're there to be able to support them if they need to be. Another little anecdote. So as well as being into coding, I have loved the singer Jessie J since I was 11 years old. Loved her. I love the fact I can also put a picture of me there with her, because I actually got to meet her last year. I still find that magical. I can even make the picture move. There you go, that's live photos for you. See, Apple's another thing of mine. Anyway, and now that's just got distracted me because I'm getting the new iPhone XS tomorrow, and yeah, I'm getting all distracted by that. Anyway, so I'm a massive fan of Jessie J, and all my friends at school kind of got fed up of me talking about Jessie J because I just went on. Like, I would say, oh, but Jessie performed at this show last night and she did this set list, which was Ain't Been Done Domino, Nobody's Perfect. I can list all of the set lists for every single show, by the way. That's another story, though. Either way, naturally, my friends just got fed up of it. So I needed to find like-minded people who also had this much interest in Jessie J. I thought it was just me. I thought I was alone on the planet. And then I found out on Twitter, there's actually like a whole Twitter fandom thing of people literally just talking about Jessie J, and I thought I was madly obsessed. And then I saw some of the people on there and was like, oh, wow. But online, people don't put their full identity online. And I came across a few people that were potentially dangerous, let's say. I was just going about my own business one day, and I got a message from someone I followed. There we go. Quite innocent. Oh, is that going to play Why is that playing again? That shouldn't happen, but never mind. So I got just an innocent message. I did find it a bit strange that some stranger had messaged me with a load of kisses on. I was like, that's a bit bizarre. And I responded back something along the lines of, hey, do I know you? Because I knew I didn't, but I thought I'll just do that instead to see what they say to that. Then they asked the question of, will they be seeing me at an upcoming concert? Because of course online we'll go, oh, I'm going to this show, yeah. I've got 3 booked for next month, but let's not talk about that. So people would say about when they're going to these shows and stuff, so it wasn't too much of a weird question. I did at this point find out that this guy was a 30-year-old man while I was 17. So it was a bit strange that he was talking to me. I was a bit confused by all the kisses and stuff. But just asking if I was at a concert, I thought that was fine. Then it started to get a bit weirder. Yeah, want to meet up. That was the weird thing. I didn't quite. I found that a bit interesting. At this point, I didn't know what to do, and luckily, as I said before, with my mum talking about. My mum helped me out with things. My mum checked in on me just on the day I received this message saying, is there anything you've got going on Twitter that you want me to help you with? I was like, yeah, actually, I've had this weird message. To which my mum goes, oh my God, it's a 30-year-old man. What are you doing? Who is this person on the internet? Why are you talking to him? Why is he saying, do you want to meet up? And then, I think this slide's kind of broken by what I can see, but to ignore, why has that happened? Ignore that graphic, but basically he said when we meet up he could buy me something, to which I didn't know that was grooming, but apparently that's where it would have gone, so that's a situation I nearly fell for. I don't think I would have ever got to the point of meeting up with him, but I don't know, I just remember replying saying, well, if you want to go to a load of Apple stores, yeah, cool, buy me all Apple gadgets. I couldn't really see the danger in all that. But yeah, so that's another great example of why my mum needed to intervene, why my mind alone, as much as I'd love to be independent, sometimes I don't make correct judgments because I don't really see the danger in things. I'm quite naive to the world. I think everyone's a good person, which can be quite dangerous at times. Now moving on to the next graphic, which decided to pop up early, which has really annoyed me. Never mind. So the internet is a very confusing place for everyone. we communicate on text, mostly on the internet. Obviously, I create videos, so I can give a bit more of a performance, like I'm giving you today. If you'd seen me 10 minutes ago, I was not like this. I wasn't all animated. I was like, oh my god, I'm tired. Blah, blah, blah. And that's what happens. I'm using more than just my words to communicate to you all. However, online, we're all on an equal playing field. We communicate via text. And text has its disadvantages. You can't always convey emotion properly. So an example I will give you, bear in mind I make YouTube videos. I get comments on my YouTube videos. This bit here, so it says, yeah, but if you actually watch the series, you would realize. That comment came from a video I made back last year. Who's heard of Atypical? Anyone? Yeah. So I saw the trailer for it last year for the first series. Didn't react too well to it. I didn't think it was a good show. I thought the humiliated autism. So I made a video reacting to that and giving my thoughts on that. I then went on to review the video. I then actually watched the trailer for this year's one and thought, oh, they've improved. And I've watched this year's series, and the show's actually improved, which surprised me. But anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. And people, for some reason, they commented on my first video of the trailer reaction, not knowing that I'd already made the review, so that's another annoyance and another tangent. But this comment, so in your head, you've all read this comment in a certain way. Now try and think of it in a different way. And I know that sounds really strange, but I have a tendency, and I've spoken to a lot of people on the autistic spectrum also, and we all have this tendency to read all text as if someone's angry at you, which I don't know why. I don't know, it must be just the built-in thing. But I read that as like really in a Mardy way. I'm from Nottingham, so that's why I said Mardy. What would be equivalent? Stroppy? Yeah, that'll do. So I read it in like, yeah, but if you actually watch the series, you would realise, blah, blah, blah. But then in reality, they probably just go, yeah, but if you actually watch the series, you would realise, which is a huge difference. And that's something that it's the catalyst of so many arguments because people aren't interpreting the text in the way that it was written. And bear in mind that like autistic communication, often all these extra things, all these body languages bits are more confusing to us. You would think it's more of a level playing field when we're just communicating with text, but it kind of brings the neurotypicals down to the autistic level in a way, and that's a really strange concept to think about, but that's how we communicate. Luckily, over time, of course, we had emoticons, we had emojis, thank you, to try and give a more accurate version of emotion to put along with your messages, because you could convey something a lot more rounded with the correct tone as such. But one thing I've always struggled with is making sure people, I can't understand what facial expressions mean all the time. I can think someone's smiling at me when they're angry at me, or again, with me assuming that all text tone is aggressive, I can also do that with facial expressions, think that most of the time people are annoyed with me, which again isn't the case. So emojis, that does create a bit of a problem there too, but luckily this is one of my biggest saviours. But Apple, this is how they do it. I don't know if it works on Google and stuff, but you can actually search for emojis by word, so you get that translation there. Like if I could walk around, do you know what, I need to invent these one day, so maybe I shouldn't. No, I'm not going to reveal what I was about to say. But if only we had a way to identify emotion from facial form to text on day-to-day life. I've now got this idea going off in my head. Why have I just thought of this during a talk, not during planning it? Anyway, so quite simply, if I want to search for a happy emoji, quite simple. That wasn't meant to happen.
It's very dramatic.
It was, wasn't it? Happy. That was brilliant, wasn't it? I have also realised I am delivering this talk at like 80% of the speed just because we ran over, so just bear with if I end up skipping bits out or stuff like that. Another thing that I found a really practical approach. So like I said earlier about my mum helping me with text and helping me interpret things, my mum can't always be there, and me being older, I like to try and be more independent, so I like to try and figure out my own ways of doing things. And I am a design student. That's part of my degree, doing design. I always loved tech in school. I was always doing graphics and resistant materials and stuff, and the way we would work is we would, oh, by the way, this is in your delegate pack, just in case you want the actual printout. And that's how we would always plan products and stuff. And I like that process. I like the fact of it was a very orderly process. It accounted for different situations. So I thought, can we apply this to social situations? Yes, in a way. Like, this is a really simple thing. So this was me trying to replace what I had going with my mum in a very basic way. There could be a lot more branches. But something's making me uncomfortable. Then you have the diamond, which is a two-way thing. So is there someone I can talk to? Yes, I can talk to my mum. Is it still bothering you? Consider further action. That is a really simplified version, but I think it gives you a bit of an idea. And I think if you are with autistic people, if you're a supporter of one, make sure, like, have a go and do some things like this. Like, even if it's, like, social media aside, even if it's for simple things like, I struggle with remembering to eat and stuff like that, remembering to get my meals and what goes into a meal and am I doing it safely. Even things like that I just find extremely useful, and you know, it could come across a bit patronising, but everyone's brain works slightly differently, and overall I've tested this with as many like autistic people as I know. Everyone loves this, and it's just an interesting new thing that I've never seen kind of used in the autism world. So I create these for myself. I'm building up like more of a catalogue for myself as I'm entering more things, but like I designed one the other day, which is like, you know, there's like 50 individual blocks in place. And that helps me make some decisions. But the thing is, like, as much as it's good to make things like this, you can't 100% rely on it, which is not what an autistic brain wants to hear. Like, that annoys myself, like, the fact it isn't foolproof. But then again, is it 100% going to work if you speak to your parent? It's not going to work all the time. They're going to get stuff wrong. But this is just a nice little way that I found to kind of make me be able to do more things for myself. So some general things that I found across the internet. I didn't quite work out at first what is appropriate to share and what not to share. So personal details, make sure you're not sharing any. It's quite simple. Make sure that anyone who you're looking after, or that you like, or if you're on the spectrum yourself, anyone actually, just make sure you're not sharing information that's too personal. Online can become quite open sometimes, and just make sure there are things like your address. It sounds obvious. It might not be obvious. There are certain things that I've shared which are like details about my family, for instance, that didn't belong online, which I got told off a lot about afterwards. But it's about making sure what is appropriate and not appropriate. One thing that is a trap that a lot of people fall into, popularity. Now, of course, I do YouTube, and YouTube's seen from the outside world as like, oh, people are just trying to get as big as they can, they want to be famous and stuff like that. It's not about that for me. It's a creative platform, and it's a way to like speak to like-minded people. But a lot of people can fall into the trap online of, I want to have the most numbers, I want to have the most Twitter followers, I want to have the most Facebook friends. One thing as a teenager, I did, and I know like everyone did regardless of autism, you just added every single person on Facebook because you wanted to have the most amount of friends. As I'm a bit older now, I can look back and realise, no, why was I having these people? Like, if I don't know these people, I don't need these people in my life. And it's about remembering, it's about safety over the numbers, which is why I get very scared about following, like, I'm very careful now about like who I let into my private social media. So I use my Facebook as my private one, and all my other profiles are public. Also, a great thing to take advantage of if you've got younger children. 13 is the age that you're meant to start using social media. I found that out recently when my mum actually created my Twitter account when I was 12 years and 11 months. And because of that, Twitter locked my account, which caused a lot of upset, but it's all sorted now, thank God. But yeah, what was the point I was making there? Yeah, anyway, privacy settings. There's a lot in place there to allow parents to have control over social media, and it's not just for parents and kids. If you know someone that's still in their adult years that need more support, then take full advantage of the privacy settings and go and have an explore as to what's most applicable per person. Another general thing online, links. Be careful what you're clicking. There's not much to say on that one, or not much to be able to advise you on. apart from the fact that everyone falls into those traps of click here. And I'll leave that one quite brief because it's quite an obvious one. Just be very careful, make sure that you're looking at links and working out if there's any like dodgy misspellings in or something. Like there was one recently where Facebook was spelt with an extra O in it, and people were logging in and giving their details. So just make sure you're thorough about everything that you're doing online to make sure your information's not being leaked. And linking into that as well, if anyone plays any of these games like Farmville or stuff like that, I don't play them, but most of them can take your data, so everyone needs to be careful and make sure where their information's going. Username and password. This is one which I find extremely interesting. Don't put your personal details into your username and password. You can use your username how you want. If you want to make yourself anonymous, you can. The only thing I would say, if you're going to make yourself anonymous, make sure you're being nice online. You will find that everyone online who, so all the hate comments I get on YouTube that are people having a go at me, none of them never show their faces, never know their names. I actually had someone make a video recently in response to a video that I made. And they have a channel literally just made on tearing people apart. And I've been emailing them back and forth because we've been sorting something. I still don't know that person's name or know what they look like. So if you like, there's nothing wrong with being anonymous online because you may not want to share things, but yeah, just make sure you're being a positive person. Also, we're kind of evolving now. I was actually just filming a video upstairs kind of about this. So we're developing a new language as a new generation. We have our internet speak, so to say, and we're learning these new types of netiquette. And etiquette is something that can sometimes be a bit tricky on the spectrum. There are certain social cues that I will miss and things like that. So to then learn an entire new set on how to interact online is really hard. So just some really basic ones. Remember that there's an actual human behind the person, behind the account even, that there's someone there that's got feelings and stuff like that. You're not just talking to a blank thing on the line, because it can be on the line. I sounded old when I said that. Online, it's so easy to just forget the person. And of course, to remember, would you be doing this if you were doing it in a real situation? Would you say that thing to someone face to face? It wouldn't happen. So imagine if it is, and imagine if it is in real life conversation, and would you behave the same way that you are behaving online? The online world was made to make sure that we were being efficient with communication. It wasn't made as an escape from reality. It was made to enhance reality, to make our communication a lot quicker. So remember that that's what the purpose is for. Like I spend a lot of time online, more than I should do. Admittedly, a lot of it's business stuff now, but to remember that not everyone online might be not wanting to be spending as much time online as you do. So to be very respectful of the fact that people might just want to be nipping online and having short, succinct conversations. Power abuse, it's almost like the popularity one in a way, of the safety tips. It can be so easy as soon as you start to amount an audience. Anyone has a voice online. In person, everyone, like some people have a voice, like I'm having a voice now obviously, but people don't have a voice as easily accessible. You can say something online and within a day it will be all across the world. And some people hook onto that and they can be very manipulative about it. So make sure that you're being pure with your intentions. And all these modern rules, the biggest thing that I say about them is to make sure to not get too hooked up on getting them right, because we're all still learning, neurotypicals and autistic people alike. We don't know how people are meant to interact in the world. And this is one thing that we're still learning how to do. There are many positives though online. As much as this is about keeping yourself safe and all that stuff, it is important to remember that there are so many positives. Like obviously I use social media a lot, so I'm going to praise it to the rooftops. Like I actually feel that a lot of my social development came from social media. Had social media not been around, I would probably just be in my bedroom and that would be my life. I've been able to enhance my skills. Like obviously, I talk to people online. Geographical boundaries are no longer a thing, so I can make sure I'm connecting with people that are really like-minded, something that you might not have in a school or something. One thing that's happened with me particularly, starting to make videos, I've definitely become more empathetic because I have people approaching me with problems and stuff, and that's one thing online, you see a lot more people's perspectives, and I'm someone who struggles with empathy, but it's something I'm trying to learn to do because I like to see the good in people, as I said, and I like to try and have balanced arguments, and I'm learning that I need to take other people's thoughts into account, and that's one thing I think's come online. And also, it's a lot easier. It doesn't require as much effort as speaking face to face. I know that sounds obvious, but it can be quite exhausting having conversations, especially when you're trying to look out for all these cues and stuff all consciously. It takes forever. So to have that to have that freedom to sometimes relax a bit and still be sociable, and of course, will generally become more confident. If I hadn't made videos, I wouldn't be standing here today. I think, well, yeah, that's what it says. And that's the thing, I'm not the only person that's enhanced my life by using the online world. And I've actually, I made a video for World Autism Wednesday earlier in the year. It was a remake of the first ever video I made. When I got diagnosed, as I said earlier, I wanted to kind of change people's perspectives. At that time, I was in a job. The people at the job, they knew about my diagnosis. They didn't think it was appropriate to make any changes for me, even though I was being picked up by my mum every single day having a meltdown. They still thought, oh yeah, he was fine. It's nothing to do with his autism. Anyway, that place no longer exists, funnily enough. I like to think the two are linked. But I was in a place where I wanted to create something, so I created a poem called I Am Autism, and it was just, I was trying to give a rounded picture of what autism felt like to me. And then because that amassed quite a lot of attention, I thought I want to do something again, but bigger. And over the last year and a half between making the first video and World Autism Wednesday, I'd become sociable again. I'd made so many friends online. All these people online on the spectrum were also using the online world for positivity, and it made a difference to them. So I thought, why can't I put every single person that I've met in a video where we're all proud to be autistic? So I shall show you that video now. So what I find important is that the online world is very overwhelming. You get a lot popping up. But what's extremely important to remember, everyone needs to do this, that normally, literally just with a click of a button, I hope this is going to work, everything will disappear. Hey! And you'll be left with the real world. And that worked. And I thought that was a nice visual metaphor, and it was very deep for me, so I was proud of that. But anyway, as I said, I'm someone on social media, so now is the point in the presentation where I plug all my social media. There's my website, conaward.co.uk. I was very pleased when I managed to get that domain. And then also you can find me on many other social medias there. So hopefully you've all got something you can take away from today, and thank you all very much for listening and watching, and yeah. Thank you. So any questions?
Yes, so Connor, thank you so much. That was an absolutely brilliant presentation, and I was so delighted that you played that video. So a special thanks for that. Has anybody got any questions?
This is where I want to make the cricket noise in the microphone.
Hi, Connor.
Hello.
So this is completely off the cuff, away from technology a bit, but hopefully you get where I'm going. So you mentioned trying to analyze what people are feeling. Where does intuition, if it does, come into play with that? And also in the real world and also online?
Well, I don't think I have the intuition. So I think, like, my version of intuition is an intellectually built up one. That's how I feel that a lot of, like, my autism is. I feel like there's this whole thing called masking. Life's a stage, basically. We all put on this performance, and I think that what comes into it, I built up like a false thing, but that's become a real thing. I think that made sense, kind of.
And you've told yourself that you can't trust yourself, or
in a way, yeah. That I know that I'm not capable of that in my raw ability. Therefore, I need to build up another way of coping with certain situations. which was a very self-aware thing to do, and it only kind of happened in the last few years, I'd say. As a teenager, had none of it. But yeah, hopefully that was answered.
I'm going to pick your brain more on that one, with the technology space.
Cool. Any other questions? No?
Connor, I've got a question.
Okay.
If you had to sort of identify the kind of the one area where you think we all need to be more aware, whether you're autistic or not, in terms of cyber safety, being safe online, what's the area that you think we should be kind of really prioritise based on perhaps some of your experiences or what you've heard through your kind of your social networks?
Yeah, so I find like one of my hardest things is identifying relationships and like the level of relationship. And I feel online people develop relationships in interesting ways. Autism aside, people seem to grow an attachment to people online. Yes, you can have a relationship, but it's about knowing that you're having these new types of relationships where you're trying to apply real life rules and stuff that you know from real life relationships and stuff like that. I don't just mean relationships as in relationships, I mean like friendships and stuff. So it's about being aware that you need to try and learn new rules for new types of relationships online.
Now, has anybody else got any other questions?
One thing I've just got to say before I answer any more,
yeah,
very quickly. I've just realised you saw We Are Autism. The third person that was in that video was Dan, who was meant to be here co-chairing today. So that was your glimpse of Dan.
And he's actually still co-chairing. We're going to see if Dan's got any questions in a moment. He's supporting the virtual conversation as he couldn't be here in person. So we'll get you guys interacting in a moment. Sorry. Yes. So can I take the questions out? Yeah.
Hi, Connor. I just wanted to say thank you, and also
thank you.
In your presentation you mentioned what kind of supportive role your mother had with you when you were participating online in social media. And for many of our younger children, the digital world is so natural for them. So I would like to ask you in terms of what would you like to say to the parents or the guardians what would you like to tell them in terms of how would you support their children?
What I will say, because people tend to, like the attitude of most parents tends to be, I'm too old for that. No, you're not. You're so and so old. You're going to be on this planet for X number of decades. Social media is only going to evolve. It's only going to become a bigger part of our lives. Therefore, just learn it. Just have a look into it. Have a research as into what it is fully. Because, well, like the people who I was passing on the stairs that just wrote it off completely. It is something that exists, and it's something that's such a big part of our lives. So invest the time into researching it and why it is the way it is, as opposed to just going, oh, that's just what the kids do.
Thank you.
And somebody else over there?
Hi, Con. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
It was really good. What do you feel? Do you feel that the social media platforms are doing enough to protect young people? Not obviously those who are autistic, but kind of everybody, because it's quite a big thing in the media at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say it's only kind of this year really, then where they've all gone right. We're actually, because every social media site started off not thinking it would become as big as it is. Therefore, it didn't lay the right foundations. But I think now we're coming to the point with all the stuff we see in the news. That's now where all these companies are going, right, we need to put more stuff in place. So I think within the next year or so, it should have changed a lot.
Is there anything in particular you'd want to see them put in place?
Almost like a little online course. Like, this is how you use the site, as in like, not just the functional elements of it, but if you tweet this thing, it will go out to these people, to give a bit more of a social understanding to everyone who uses social networking.
Thank you.
I think that sounds like a great idea, and one that we need to make sure we get over to the tech companies. On that note, I mean, obviously there was a lot of press around this issue with Facebook and the use of people's data. And obviously for people in the autistic community, or the parents, family members as well, there can be sensitivities around whether one's data, where and how one's data is recorded and shared. I was interested to know about your views on that, Connor.
So bear in mind I make videos. I share quite a lot of my life. Therefore, I'm aware that if I'm putting in a piece of information online, probably going to end up going somewhere that I don't want it to go. Therefore, it just makes me more cautious as to what I put on in the first place. So I think that's just a mindset thing that we're just having to learn.
So we just have to think about what we do before we do it and consider.
It's like when you see all these people who there's so many cases in the media of going, so-and-so tweeted this 10 years ago. And that's just, obviously as a 15-year-old, you wouldn't think, I need to be really careful about what I'm saying online. Whereas 15-year-olds now are going, oh, look what happens when you say something, you get caught up on it, and you lose your job. So it's little things like that.
It's a very pragmatic approach, Connor, and I guess that's important. You know, one has to embrace, you know, both the risks and the opportunities, and as you say, sort of adapt and learn and share that learning collaboratively.